Good evening. My name's Ken Wessel. Thank you for joining us this evening. I serve on the Literacy Connections Bank on Wayne Board of Advisory Board. I just wanted to take a moment to share with you a little bit tonight. We are going to kind of bring everything together that we have talked about previously in the first two sessions. You talked about this decision making and what influences that. You've talked about tracking your income and expenses. Well, tonight it all comes together with a budget, because I teach this class several times a year, and this is the one that makes the most important. I mean, if you don't do this part, the rest of it doesn't matter, because if you don't have a budget, you're going to struggle. So let's dig in tonight and let's find out what it takes to make a budget. Using your monthly spending and savings plan to guide how you use your money. That's our key takeaway. Make a budget, stick to it. That's what we want to talk about this evening. All righty. So, building blocks of a spending and savings plan. Compare your income and expenses. Understand where your money is going and make the adjustments. Income is the money you receive. Income is your pay stubs, whatever, your paycheck, whatever comes in is the income. Expenses, how you use your income, whatever you spend your money on. I always tell each class to, pick an item that you buy all the time. I stop at the store and I buy a Diet Pepsi every day or two. And if you take that $3.89 and you multiply it out, it gets real expensive over a week and a month and a lifetime. Real expensive. We're not going to do the math tonight. Trust me on that one, it gets real expensive. If you'll take a look at page 4 in your participant guide, you'll see the columns there for your net income and your expenses. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to write out everything we spend money on, everything we have coming in, so we can compare them. It's fairly long. There's a lot of sections here you may not need. We start with things like pay for job 1, pay for job 2, pay for job 3. Gives you some room to list those out. Your self-employment income, your public benefits such as government assistance, things like that. We have several sections there for that. Interest, it would be anything from a savings account or something like that. Dividends, if you had some kind of investments, you could put those in there. Child support and alimony. That's going to come in on your income and expense side. It depends on whether you're paying the child support or you're receiving the child support. And then gifts. Maybe you have an angel donor, or there's a third party, say a church or somebody that helps you out a little bit. That's what you're going to list there. Next side is your expenses, your savings towards emergency fund. How much are you trying to save? Saving towards, buying a new car. The idea with an emergency fund is kind of the rule of thumb is you have 3 months worth of bills in your savings account. Now, when I say bills, that's the rent, the heat, the water, and the groceries. You can't really say that you're going to account for every single bill 3 times 3 and put it in a savings account. It typically doesn't work like that. But you want to be able to cover the basics, the most important things that'll keep you out of the cold and keep you moving about so you can get back and forth to work. Okay? And then any sharing you may do, sharing with family and friends. Maybe you have a charitable contribution to a church, something along those lines. And then we dip into your spending. How much you pay in rent, how much you pay in your mortgage, property taxes, homeowners insurance, your water bill, your electric bill, gas if you have it, oil if you have it, trash collection, the telephone, cell, and landline. Some people still do have those. Then your internet, cable, satellite TV, all your streaming stuff, all these things factor in. And then you've got the good old car or truck payment. You've got the insurance payment on that. You've got the maintenance and repair of that. Hopefully you don't have a vehicle you're having to maintain or repair on a monthly basis, but you have to provide for that. Every 3, 4, 5 months, you're going to have to go in, get the oil changed, get the tires rotated, things like that. And then gas, the ever popular gas line. I noticed here recently gas has gone up about 20 cents. Who knows? Up and down it goes. If you take and use public transportation, you have to factor for that. Health insurance, other healthcare expenses, say like prescriptions, things like that. Student loan payments, credit card debt, Any other debt you have, if you have a friend that you've lent money to, that's lent you money, you're paying him back, you need to account for that. And then we get into things like personal care, elder care. Maybe you're paying somebody to come in and sit with mom or dad or something like that. Child care and child support, things like that. Groceries and household items. You know, the grocery bill, I have a 15-year-old home, doesn't seem like thing that will ever go down. Eating in or taking out. In this day and age, you know, the takeout has kind of become the norm. A lot of people do that on a daily basis. And then if you have a service animal, pet care, personal expenses, entertainment, all of these things matter. It's important that we document all of these things so we know how much we're spending. You'll be able to take and line item your, checkbook statement and say, okay, there, that's what I spent the money on, okay? That's what you want. You want to have that firm a grasp on where the money is going and where it's coming from. And then you have your total income. That's the last page there. And we compare, total income, your total expenses, and the difference. Did you come out on top? Did you break even? Or are you a little short? Then we have to go back. If we're a little short, we have to make those decisions. What are we going to cut out? Maybe we don't need 7 streaming services. Maybe 1 or 2 will do. Possibly we can get by with only having 1 cell phone plan instead of 3 cell phone plans. Things like this all work into it. And that's the keystone, is you got to have good information in to get good information out. If you're trying to make a budget and you don't have that good information coming in, you've only got part of the information, and then at the end of the month you throw your hands up because you're frustrated because you can't figure out where your money's going, more than likely you don't have all the information coming in. So you need to make sure, and this is something you track for several months in advance as you go. You keep up with it for month after month after month. Things like your rent should not change typically. Your car payment, that things are not going to change. Grocery bill, gas bills, things like that are going to fluctuate. They're going to go up or down. That's where you've got to have that leeway. So you've got to know precisely how much you've got so you know how much room you're going to need. I know with me, we do the online grocery pickup just because we can. It's so nice not spending an hour and a half in Walmart. I know from week to week about what that grocery bill is going to be. I know what we've spent, what we bought last week, and what we're going to buy this week. And unless there's some kind of event coming up, a celebration, Christmas or Easter or something like that, I got a pretty good feel for where the grocery bill is going to be. And if it's out of the ordinary, I kind of question that. Where do we spend all this money on? What's going on? That kind of comes into play. You've got to take that closer look at it. I'm fortunate in that respect. It's because we use that service. It's there every week for me. I look at it right there when I'm filling out the online order form. So it makes it simple for me to follow. Then, like we said, if you need help calculating your income, if you get paid once a month, you divide by 12. Obviously, semi-annual, divide by 6. Quarterly, I don't know who gets paid quarterly, but you divide by 3. Monthly income is monthly income, of course, and then bi-monthly, multiply by 2 to get your monthly. Bi-weekly, multiply by 26 and then divide by 12. And then weekly is multiply by 52 and then divide by 12. I tell you that so that you can get a good idea of what your your income is, so you're not making that mistake. You've done all this hard work documenting your outgo, your expenses, but you're inputting your income wrong. And that's something that's fairly easy to figure out. If you need some help, feel free to reach out to Literacy Connection here or to me. I'll be glad to take a call on something like that. All right. Next is when you compare your net total income minus total expenses. If the difference is 0, like we said, you're in the gold. If you're positive, hey, you've got a little extra to save. If you're negative, it's time to make some decisions. There are 3 sections tonight, your net income, your expenses, and the comparison. All right, we're going to fill out the past monthly amount, we're going to complete the planned monthly amount, and we're going to compare total net income and total expenses. And if need, we're going to make changes, okay? That's what it is. That's the whole idea about the budget. It's a fluid document. Some months it's going to have excess, some months it won't. And that's what we want to make sure that we can adjust and move with it. My total net income minus my total expenses. Now notice we say net there. That's different from gross. Net is take-home pay. If the difference is zero, your income equals your expenses. Not bad, not great. If it's positive, you have more income than you do expenses. That's on the good side. That means you actually have a little extra at the end of the month. And if it's negative, you have more expenses than income. Now it's time to back up and punt. We got to figure out a new plan, a new strategy. Making a spending and savings plan. On page 9 in your participant guide, we've got a case study we're going to run through real quick, kind of give you an idea of real world, how it works. Shelley and Walter make a spending and savings plan. Shelley and Walter recently moved to New York, to a new city 8 months ago. They both have jobs. Walter also does freelance work on the weekends to bring in some extra cash. Their total net income is $3,100 per month. They are trying to save money towards an emergency fund, but their savings account is actually decreasing each month. That's because they're withdrawing money to cover expenses. They also would like to start a college fund for their granddaughter. They have tried to figure out where to save the money, but everything seems non-negotiable. The utility bills have surprised them, especially gas in the winter and electric in the summer. In their new climate, Shelley's car keeps needing unexpected repairs, and they can't seem to make much headway on paying down their credit card debt. Other costs are stable from month to month, but are essential. For example, the service animal expense is necessary because Walter is blind. To better understand their income and expenses, Shelley and Walter completed their income and expense log last month. They used these to complete their spending and savings plan. All right. Net income, $2,000 from last month, $2,000 for the month of April. Net job, or the second job is $1,000 and $1,000 again. Net self-employment income is $100 and $100. That's Walter's little freelance job on the side. There is no there, so you get a total of $3,100 and your total net income. Past monthly amount, savings toward emergency fund, nothing. Savings toward the college fund, nothing. Charitable contributions, 15. The groceries and household supplies, 300. The eat-in or take-out, 200. Service animal expenses, 200. Personal expenses, 150, and entertainment, 300, which brings them to a total of 3,115. So their net total income is 3,110. Their net total expenses is 3,165. So they come up short $55. Now we'll come back to them. Let's take a look at your spending plan. Did you record your savings, your sharing, and your spending? Saving your receipts is a good first step in addition to using receipts to track your uses of income. You can also use them to review your monthly statements. You compare them side by side. Here's my receipt, here's my statement. I'm missing something. That's a great way to find a leak in your budget. If you're adamant about keeping all your receipts, but you still come up short, and then you go through and you reconcile your two together, and you don't have some receipts. That might be where that extra money's slipping away at. So that's a great way to look at it. Another thing you can do is collect your change. Drop your spare change in a jar. This can help you build savings and keep your pockets or purse free of loose change. Any other ideas? Things like Starbucks. I know we've done we did this once in a previous class, where if you go to Starbucks 5 times a week, it's about $30. It's about $120 a month. That's about $1,400 a year. That gets real expensive real quick. Think about that. $1,400 on coffee. I know it's tasty, but dang. All right, take your lunch to work. Things like that. My wife is always fussing at me about taking the leftovers the next day for work to eat lunch. I try to abide by that 3 times a week. And the biggest thing is and like I said before, finding the leaks in your budget. the biggest one is going to be that little stuff where you stop by the store to get something and you pick up a little something extra. That's my 15-year-old's notorious for that. If I leave to go to the store, he rides with because he's sure there's going to be some M&Ms involved or some type of candy bar or drink, which probably will be, but he doesn't need to know that. All right. So daily and weekly ideas. Record your savings, sharing, and spending. Collect your change, any other ideas you guys can come up with. Your weekly ideas. And we're getting into some of the ideas that we have that you can use. The envelope system. Now the envelope system is pretty simple. You take each thing and you write it on the front of an envelope, whether it's auto, groceries, whatever, and you put money in that envelope for that reason. Okay, so if you need to go into the store and get groceries, you take the grocery envelope, you take cash out of it, take it and spend it. When that money's gone, it's gone. It forces you to budget that money. Now you're having to go into the savings envelope to get enough money to pay for groceries. Therein lies your problem. You need to start looking at your grocery bill at that point. We talked about the weekly money check-in. That's where you get together as a family. You sit around the table and, hey, where do we stand? I'm running a little short on grocery money. Well, how is that possible? We put an extra $50 in last month. Well, and then, some hard decisions have to be made. It is, it takes some discipline to get on a budget and to stick on one. Then you move on to your monthly ideas. You conduct a monthly review. Have a monthly goal setting session. This is a team effort. One person cannot do it. In a family of 4, if only one person's on a budget, it's not going to work. Everybody's on a budget. Celebrate your successes. Prepare for taxes. That time is coming. You're going to have a situation where you have an unexpected expenditure, whether it's taxes or an emergency car repair, or the new class is starting. The teacher has a syllabus, and there's $500 worth of books on there that you get an online access code to that you never actually touch a physical book, but yet you've paid $400 for it. Did I mention my daughter goes to college? Okay. Increasing your income. Now, there's one we'd all like to have an easy way out. Fortunately, it's not quite that way. Increasing your income obviously would help cover your expenses to save or to share. Once you could sell something, if you have, maybe you can paint, you can sell a painting, or maybe, you go around to garage sales and you pick up little cheap bicycles and fix them up and sell them or something like that. That's a one-time thing. And there again, hold your garage sale, clean out the attic and do that. That's a one-time thing. You don't have a garage sale every week. That's maybe once a year, twice a year at the most. An ongoing way to increase income is a part-time job. Possibly, you find some little job on the side. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can make a few extra bucks here and there. Possibly that can, fill in your grocery hole in your budget, And then, of course, long-term, something like workforce development, where you're going on the side or at night to learn a skill to increase your value in the workplace and get a better job. All right, then the next one is decreasing expenses. Of course, you would have conserve, we talked about the grocery bill, punching holes in the grocery bill. You can do things like, get a cheaper car. Only drive to and from work. If you're in a position where you can walk to somewhere, you might not park the car and save that gas. You can adjust. Sometimes you can renegotiate. Maybe talk to your landlord. Times are tough right now. It's possible that we can, take $100 off the rent right now until, we get back on our feet, something like that. Typically, if you've been a good quality tenant, landlords, they're people too. They want to keep hold of you. Maybe they don't want to see you go, so that maybe they'd be willing to do something like that for you. And of course, you can do without. What can you eliminate? Like, my example earlier with my 15-year-old, we can eliminate them M&Ms. They're not necessary at all. All right, adjusting and spending savings plan. Okay, this is on page 17 in your participant guide. We're back to talking about Walter and Shelby. What are some ideas that they can do to increase their income? Walter can increase the freelance work, possibly. Make some more money on the weekends. They can try to increase their hours at the regular jobs. Possibly there's some overtime available if they ask for it. They can sell some items they don't need if they've got some kind of something excess that they're like, man, we can do without that. Maybe sell it. There's always, get rid of the car. Use public transportation. Depending on where they live, that might be an option. One of my favorites is adjust the thermostat. The wintertime's here. It's North Carolina. It really doesn't get that cold. 65 is high enough. You don't have to have it on 74. 65 will do, and things like that. Spending on entertainment, eating out. That's real easy to shore that up and not stop at the store on the way home and not stop at the restaurant on the way home and make that menu and eat that food at home all 5 nights in the week instead of skipping out 2 nights a week to go to Andy's or something. It's never happened to me. All right. Other things that what they can do is, they can, other than increase their income and decrease their expenses, there's some hard decisions that are going to be made there. One of the things they need to think about is paying yourself first. If you want to save money and you're trying to do it at the end of your budget, you're probably not going to have a lot of money to save. If you want to save money, pay yourself first. Say it. Taking this $35 we got paid today, putting it in the savings. It's not coming out. And adjust for it in your budget somewhere else. That's $35 that you don't have to spend on something, going out to eat, which, that would be one time. If it's just 2 people and the service dog, he eats pretty cheap. So, matter of fact, he'd probably get freebies in a restaurant. So, but you've got a situation there where, got to make a sacrifice if that's what you want to do. All right, remember, our key takeaway is using a monthly spending and savings plan to guide how you use your money. Budget's where it starts and where it ends, folks. That's the most important part. When money is short, okay, this will be starting on page 18 in your participant guide. Key takeaway here is to prioritize which bills pay first when money is short. This is one you have to have that adult discussion and talk about the decisions you're getting ready to make, because these will have ramifications down the road that are just beyond eating out too much, okay? How does it happen? Even with careful planning, money can run short, okay? What can you do? You can increase income, you can decrease expenses, contact your creditors. I teach this class a lot, like I said. I can promise you there are very few creditors who want your stuff back. That's not the business they're in, okay? They don't want your car sitting in their parking lot. They don't want your house to put on the market and sell. That's not the business they're in. They'd much rather you keep it and pay something and then catch it up in the long run than to get it back. So if you realize you're getting to that point where you're going to run short, don't dodge the phone call. Don't ghost your creditors. Call them. Be proactive. Call them first. Hey, going to be short this month. What can we do? You may find that they're willing to work with you real quick, like in that situation, whereas if they've chased you for 3 months, they're kind of frustrated at that point and they're done, okay? Be proactive. Reach out to them first and ask them, can we modify this? Is there something we can do to put us in a better situation so we can, maybe we can skip a month and make it up at the end, or maybe we can pay half for 3 months and make it up at the end, something like that. Have some options ready. See if they're willing to go that route with you. A lot of times they will. There's always a time to reach out for help, whether it be a civic organization or family or friends, and then it's time to prioritize what you pay first. Prioritizing based on what might happen. Okay, make choices about which bills to pay in full, pay partially, or pay late. Pay attention to the consequences that will arise from this. All right, you want to prevent anything that would prevent you from earning income, jeopardize your shelter, impact health or ability to live independently, and could result in loss of assets. These are things you've got to really look at when you make that decision. It's real easy for me. I work at the bank. The mortgage is first, got to be paid. Okay, for multiple reasons. Not only is it your shelter in your home and your safe spot, and it would be just devastating to be homeless, but it has a big effect on your credit, and we've got to keep an eye on the long-term goal here. Is, you want to come out of this thing as good as you can, and the mortgage being late or the mortgage not being paid on time is bad. It really does impact your credit more than anything else would. So let's take a look at that when you're talking about the prioritizing. If at all possible, the mortgage gets paid first, it gets paid on time, and it gets paid fully. Okay. So making adjustments. Here we go. On page 20 in your participant guide, it's going to look a little something like this. Prioritizing my expenses. When your income is less than usual or you had an unexpected expense, your regular bills and living expenses don't stop. Try to find ways to increase or income or reduce expenses. Contact your creditors. They may give you extra time to pay or otherwise work with you. Reach out for help, not only from family and friends, but also from community-based organizations and public agencies. Then, if you still can't pay all of your bills in full, when they're due, prioritize which to pay first. Step 1, list them all out, which you've already got that list. You've made your budget. You've got your book of bills. Go down, look in there and see who's who and what's what. List all your bills and other expenses and indicate if you've talked to your creditors and asked for help. And maybe you might get lucky. You might call a creditor and they say, hey, listen, I can't make a payment this month. I'll make it up next month. And they may say, don't worry about it. Who knows? Like I said, they're people too. They get it. Maybe they've been through some hard times and they're willing to work with you in a big way. Write down what will happen if you don't pay. Now, understand the ramifications of that. Not paying a credit card and not paying a car note and not paying a mortgage all have different ramifications. Make sure you understand what those are. Reach out, phone a friend. Well, don't phone a friend. Phone a professional that deals in that and find out exactly what the ramifications are, okay? Typically, a bank or a finance company is not going to come get that car the first month it's late. The third month it's late, it's another story. So that's one of those you may want to partially pay, as long as you're paying something towards it. They know that you're still there. You haven't just jetted off to California with their car. You're probably in a better situation with that. Finally, with the credit card companies, pick up the phone, call the customer service line. They're going to put you over to a special department that handles these situations and talk to the people. Write it down, make notes. Who did I talk to? What did they tell me? Keep up with this now, because these are important details that are going to help you make these decisions, all right? Finally, that you've made the hard decisions, you've worked through it all, and it's time to make that payment, okay? Keep in mind, like we said, what are the long-term ramifications of this? What's going to happen, overall, and always in the back of your mind, what's going to happen on your credit report, your credit scoring. Typically, the larger the item is, the more factor it's going to have, the more impact it's going to have on your credit. So obviously the mortgage, like I said earlier, is important to pay first. Probably then your cars, more than likely then your, the credit card bills, things like that. You have, the streaming services, you can cancel those. The telephones, they can be canceled. Things like that can be canceled. That might be the path of least resistance. Now, going without a phone may be difficult. Going without a TV, not so much. You can fill that time with something else. So our key takeaway for section 2 was this: prioritize which bills to pay first when money is short. Let's keep in mind that it's a situation that can happen to anybody. That's one of those times where it's important to recognize the situation for what it is and to take action, not reaction. Okay, don't let it happen to you. You know, try to be out front on that thing and fix it before it gets worse. Is I guess a better way to say it. In closing, I want to thank you guys tonight for your time. I really do appreciate your joining us here. If you have any additional questions or some further resources on page 23 of your participant guide, you can reach out here to Literacy Connections with Ms. Lee Holtz. She'll be more than happy to help you. And just remember, you've done the 3 steps to building a budget. The biggest part of building the budget is the discipline to stay on the budget and to be honest with yourself when making a budget. You know, it's a fluid document. It's always evolving, so don't be too concerned about if it moves around on you. It's supposed to, but it's a big deal is to keep the process going from month to month to month to month until you get in a situation where it becomes easier and it becomes a habit. And then it's, you know, you can do the weekly meeting and then the monthly meeting just to keep on tabs, but make sure that you're following through and staying on that budget. Thank you, folks.
This is Sherry Archibald with the United Way of Wayne County. Bank on Wayne is a Literacy Connections program and is funded in part by the United Way of Wayne County. This video series of Bank on Wayne was made possible by a generous grant from Enjoy Thrift Store, Goldsboro.